So way back in 2017 when I first picked up a camera, I had a brief spell of flirting with astrophotography and it was something that I really quite enjoyed. Now looking back at my techniques and the images, it weren't the greatest, but I always enjoyed myself when I was doing it. My techniques tend to involve pointing a 50mm f1.8 on a Canon crop camera at any given patch of the sky and just seeing what happened. There was no sort of method and rhyme to what I was doing. It was just potluck if I got anything, but I always enjoyed what I was doing. And it's something that's been lacking from my photography for quite some time, is this astrophotography. It's late August, it's prime Milky Way season here in the UK, so I kind of thought, well, why not? Let's go out and take a photograph of the Milky Way. Now, the equipment that I'm going to be using in tonight's video are the following. So I have my Olympus E-M1 Mark II and my 6mm f2 Venus Laowa. It's an ultra wide angle lens. It's going to allow me to capture a subject and the Milky Way in the background. But the wide angle on this lens, it should give an awful lot of depth of field. Ultra wide angles tend to give big depth of fields, which should help with focusing issues in the dark. Another thing, the wider angle the lens that you're able to use for astrophotography, the longer you can keep the shutter open before the stars start to trail. So hopefully this is going to be a winning combination. Now, in case that fails and it's a little bit too wide, I also have my Olympus 12-40 f2.8 Pro. I'm hoping to keep this one in the bag because I really want to see what the ultra wide angle lens can do. So I guess the last thing to do is get somewhere outside and somewhere pretty dark, so let's go. So the plan for the evening is to drive up to a place called Rosedale Abbey in the North Yorkshire Moors National Park. It's not too far away from Pickering. There are some clay ovens there, some old clay ovens, and looking on various different apps, I'm looking at the Milky Way rising behind the clay ovens, and that might make for a fairly dramatic photograph. You know, you've got your subject in the foreground, the clay ovens, and then you've obviously got your astrophotography in the background with the Milky Way poking through. So let's go, hour-and-a-half drive. Hopefully we get quite a nice photograph. That motorcyclist is asking for trouble if you saw him out the window. I'll catch you when we get there. So welcome to Rosedale Abbey. We're just at the top of Chimney Bank and behind me are the clay ovens that I'm going to use. There's a foreground interest for this astrophotography Milky Way photograph that I have in mind. It looks like I've called it right. There are millions and millions of stars above my head. It's a clear night. The Milky Way is just behind me, so I can gather from the car park. So let's get the camera set up and start playing around and see how Micro Four Thirds looks for astrophotography with this Milky Way shot that I've got in mind. Alright, so here we are. So we've got the Olympus E-M1 Mark II, we've got the Laowa 6mm f2, and hopefully, we've about now got a Milky Way. I've arrived here just as the Milky Way is starting to come a little bit vertical in the sky, so I think another 20 minutes may just give it enough time just to swing itself round. So I kind of want to get the Milky Way nice and vertical behind the cliff face in front of me. But so far, a few little test shots, the Milky Way is there. There was a little bit more light pollution on the horizon than I was hoping for, but we're in the middle of Yorkshire. This is about as dark as you're going to get. So let's just spend a little time, see what the Milky Way does, and hopefully we'll take a really nice photograph very, very shortly. All right, so I've just taken a quick test shot, and this is what we're up against at the minute. See, we've got the Milky Way nice and vertical in the sky there. We've got the clay ovens all around here, but you can see there is a little bit of light pollution just on the horizon. I'm not too sure. Well, I don't want it there, but there's not a lot I can do about it. The foreground is being illuminated by the LED light on the top of this camera. You can see if I turn that on and then crank it up, this is what I'm using. So this camera is set up on this tripod just to the left of it, and I'm shining the light all over the clay ovens in that direction, and that's just illuminating that. So what I've noticed is on the test shot, if I turn this off again, we'll notice that just the right hand side of these clay ovens are being illuminated by this light. So I just need to swizzle the light around a little bit more, and I'm going to take another test shot and see where we're at with this Milky Way core. Right, so I think I'm about there fettling with this composition. I've opted for a vertical composition. I thought the vertical slice, it just gives more of the sky above it, especially on this ultra wide angle lens. The landscape photos that I was taking, they was alright, but I just kind of missed something, so I just figured if we flip the camera vertically, we get a little bit more Milky Way in. So settings wise, we're at f2.0, 60 seconds worth of exposure time, and my ISO is set to 1600. It's overexposing ever so slightly the Milky Way where the light pollution is just behind this hill, but that's okay. It's not overexposing it. Overexposing it, we'll be able to bring that back in post a little bit and just recover some detail in there, so I'm quite happy with that. The camera has been manipulated on a tripod in a position that I'm not overly happy with. It was very difficult to do this in the dark, but it is what it is. So now all that's left to really do is just get some light illuminating the foreground, and I think we'll be about ready to go taking this photograph. So let's get everything set up and start taking pictures. Alright, so I'm happy with the photograph that I was able to take then. The LED light that's illuminating all of this right now is obviously, like I said earlier on in the video, it's just been on top of that camera just pointing in that direction. It's kind of why I haven't been able to show me taking the photographs, because I've got no real way of holding the light up. But it's been set to about 3%, which is giving me just enough light on this foreground just to make it visible, and it just gives it a little bit more interest in the photograph instead of having a pitch black foreground or no foreground at all. I always find these astro photos work a little bit better when you actually have a subject and the stars, just kind of the sky in the background. So that's kind of the angle where I've been going with that. So I'll move you around here, I'll show you the final photograph, and then I'll put it on the screen for you to see. Alright, so here we go. So here's the photograph. So you can see the foreground down there with the clay ovens. There's just a nice little amount of light just illuminating that, and as you can see, quite prominently in the background there is the Milky Way core. Now, this has probably been one of the most faffy photographs that I've ever taken in my life, but I've actually genuinely enjoyed doing this, and it's nice to get a nice vertical photograph of the Milky Way in the background as well. So let me show you the final edit of this photograph, and I think we'll wrap the video up from there. So there we go, just a photograph of the Milky Way core above the clay ovens at the top of Chimney Bank. Now obviously I don't have a star tracker. If I did, I'd be able to take a photograph 100 times better than what I've got tonight over a single frame, but I just wanted to come out and show you that it is entirely possible to do a little bit of astrophotography using a nice wide fast lens on a micro four thirds camera, and I've had a lot of fun doing it. It's been some time since I've been out and tried this kind of photography. So if you did enjoy today's video like I've enjoyed making it, please do give it a thumbs up and a like, because it does help the video and it brings new viewers to see my content. And if you're new here, you can always press the subscribe button down below and you'll see more micro four thirds nonsense from myself every single week. So until the next time, I love you and leave you and say peace and goodbye.